Een cadeau versturen naar je vriend Fred? Extra voordelig, in een klein pakket. Hij blij, jij blij.
Being myself is the boldest thing I can do. My own self.
Actually, Smart Summon has arrived, and I've been putting it through its paces to say the least. It also marks a pretty historic moment for this channel, because for the first time, there will be no one in the driver's seat for the entire video. But before we get into Costco stress testing, I think we need a brief history lesson on Summon, because as many of you will point out, it's not exactly a new feature. The original Smart Summon worked by using basic maps for planning combined with ultrasonic sensors to detect objects around it and not crash into anything. I kinda like to think about it like a bug with antennae that navigates the world by feel. This was mostly a party trick, and it's pretty obvious if you ever used it that it lacks real intelligence, and also struggled in situations where the ultrasonic sensors didn't have a good understanding of their surroundings. It didn't care about road laws or driving etiquette, it just always took the path of least resistance to get to you, so not exactly smart like the name would suggest. Actually, Smart Summon changes this. One of the first things I did was put it into a bit of a tricky situation where I was standing at the edge of this roundabout to see if it would turn left to come get me like Old Summon would have, but instead it did the correct thing and took the super long path all the way around the roundabout. Definitely some new intelligence under the hood here. And in addition to new intelligence, you also get a live view that you can see on the app that shows you what the car is seeing as it drives around. And as you could probably notice, it is moving a little bit slow. 6 miles an hour is the max for this first release. And while 6 miles an hour is typically fine for most parking lots, it does feel a bit slow on a road like this, but I can definitely understand why it has this limitation. And even pulling off the side of the road a little bit before coming to a full stop and turning on the hazards to let me in. Absolutely incredible. Some quirky behavior that I did not expect is that anytime its first move is to go forward, it will actually back up ever so slightly to make sure that there's nothing in front of it before proceeding, which I actually think is a really smart way to deal with that small blind spot, since it doesn't use ultrasonic sensors anymore and relies on cameras only. And just look at that 3-point turn. I cannot wait for full self-driving to get these abilities. Another thing I didn't expect is the sheer distance that it's able to go with no driver. Old Summon would stop abruptly after about 400 feet, saying the maximum distance has been reached, but this one keeps going and going and going. I'm actually playing a bit of a hide and seek game with the car here by holding the come to me button and then running away, and even though it's limited to 6 miles an hour, I really did have to run for it not to catch me, which shows me just how screwed I am if the car decides it hates me and it turns into a Terminator type situation. I was starting to think there was no limitation on distance at all, but there is, and here you can see the car stop and I got a message on the phone saying the max distance was reached. But it does seem to be very lenient with what it considers out of bounds. You can see the target on the phone is where I want it to go, which requires heading in the opposite direction because it's a one-way road. It does a good job waiting for the car behind to pass before pulling out of its parking spot, and then you can see even as the target becomes out of range, the car continues driving to it, which is a very welcome change. And I gotta say, it is absolutely amazing to see it doing things like properly stopping at this sign and just driving along. Even though I've shown it doing much more amazing things, when there's no one in the car, it somehow feels very different. Here's another example where I set the destination pin right on the edge of what's allowed, where the car is gonna have to go well out of bounds to get there, and it does no problem. As long as you're standing somewhere inside the blue circle and keeping an eye on the car, it doesn't really seem to care at all that it's heading to a destination that's technically out of bounds. It's also obviously tuned to be very safe around pedestrians. You can see there's a little bit of a pinch point here, and instead of going around, it just comes to a complete stop. And of course, with me being me, I couldn't help myself but do a little reflex testing. Surprisingly quick reaction time, actually. And after that move, it opted to not go down the same parking aisle that I was walking down, even though that probably would have gotten it to its destination a little quicker. Might have been a little bit nervous about me, and I can't really blame it. The last clip we're going to take a look at in this area before we head over to Costco is a really good example of it thinking on the fly. The target that I chose may be a little bit hard to see on the little phone there because it's behind other icons, but I set it to the right-hand side of this roundabout. Now keep your eye on the intended path here. As you can see, the car is currently trying to look for a way to pull off to the side of the road, which will get it close enough to pick us up. But once it sees the concrete barriers there and realizes it can't do that, it actually takes an entirely new route and drives all the way around the block to get to us. I feel like this is what Smart Summon should have been all along, because the first version definitely wasn't so smart, but in typical Tesla fashion, better late than never. And on to the real stress test, Costco. Now, Costco is a place where you really can't be overly polite while driving around, or else you're never going to get anywhere. You can see it begin to back up a little bit when it started to
won't survive.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
There's nowhere to hide.
30 seconds until minions spawn. Minions have spawned.
Don't cross me. Only fools pledge life to honor. Let's finish this quickly. This is no challenge. On the razor's edge.
Feel this.
I never compromise. This mean nothing to me.
First blood. An ally has been slain.
They won't survive. There's nowhere to hide. Don't cross me.
Just for you. Light on my feet.
Only fools pledge life to honor. Let's finish this quickly.
An ally has been slain.
On the razor's edge.
An enemy has been slain.
I never compromise.
Quick as a fox.
Your allegiances mean nothing to me.
Give me your heart.
They won't won't survive. There's nowhere to hide. Don't cross me.
An enemy has been slain.
Only fools pledge life to honor. Let's finish this quickly. On the razor's edge.
Delicious.
I never compromise. Your allegiance means nothing to me. They won't survive.
I don't bite much. Come here often.
Pathetic.
Enemy has been slain.
Another run for the gutter.
Light on my
There's nowhere to hide. Don't cross me. Only fools pledge life to honor.
An enemy has been slain.
Let's finish this quickly. Their bones will wet my blade.
An ally has been slain.
On the razor's edge.
Come closer.
You have slain an enemy.
I never compromise. Your allegiances mean nothing to me. Of steel.
Shut down. An enemy has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
They won't survive.
A little bitter for my taste. What a rush!
There's nowhere to hide.
An enemy has been slain.
Just for you. Let's run.
Don't cross me.
You have slain an enemy. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Only fools pledge life to honor. Let's finish this quickly. On the razor's edge.
An ally has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret.
This is no challenge.
Killing spree. Rampage. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Nowhere to hide. Don't cross me. Only fools pledge life to honor.
Feel this.
Unstoppable.
Let's finish this quickly.
Shut down. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Your allegiances mean nothing to me. They won't survive. Bones will weather my blade.
Your team has destroyed a turret. Let's finish this quickly. On the razor's edge. An enemy has been slain.
never compromise.
An enemy has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Our crusade shall never end.
Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.
Judgment has come. Nothing will stand in my way.
Your team has destroyed a turret. Killing spree. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor. Your ally has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret. Killing spree. Your team has destroyed a turret.